Gee, who could have seen this coming? We said for a long time that when it comes to the Middle East, we need to get out, of course, naturally, but we also needed to make sure that when we did so responsibly because there's always people waiting in the wings to take over and mess everything up. And when I say everything, I don't just mean Afghanistan or random places in the Middle East, I mean the world. And especially these people want to mess up stuff that they hate. And these people hate nothing more than freedom-loving Americans. That's just the fact. That's just the way things are. And I can imagine that there's probably going to be a lot of people there who are feeling a little vindictive as well. They're going to want some revenge. And so they're going to come after us no matter what. That is the God's honest truth. But regardless, before they do that, they're going to try to appease us because they know that we outpower them. They know that in the snap of a finger, we could bring the wrath of God upon them. So they are going to tell us what is necessary in order to make us leave them alone. But we all knew that no matter what kind of promises that they made, that it was going to be the promises of liars. And sure enough, here it is. Here it is. The Taliban, who told us that they were going to respect women's rights. The Taliban, who told us that they weren't going to torture people or kill people just because they might have helped Americans or, oppose their rigid religious ideologies in any way. They're doing it. They're doing exactly the opposite of what they told us they would do. New Taliban government, more of the same, says Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. And then the byline, he says he has not seen evidence that it will be inclusive. One thing that I feel like many people on the left, or maybe even just standard Americans, need to understand, is that life is not Netflix. Life is not social media here in the present day. It's not. Just because you think inclusivity, as you call it, as it looks today, is really a first world creation. It is a creation of people who, to be honest with you, have it really good. They don't really have anything that's super threatening to them. And so they have to come up with other struggles in order to feel relevant, like their life means something. Inclusivity is not necessarily bad per se, but we get to a point where inclusivity becomes an all-encompassing thing. And it must be obeyed, it must be had, or else, this civilization that we live in is evil. And that's not necessarily the case. There are some things you definitely want to disclude from your civilization. Discrimination is something that we practice every day, and sometimes it's a good thing. For instance, you want to be able to discriminate against murderers. You want to be able to discriminate against thieves and rapists. These are discriminatory acts that you want to take care of and enforce. But when you get so open-minded and so inclusive that you start to look at literal terrorists as someone who should be included and listened to because they tick off certain boxes, then you have become an enabler of murder, of rape, of thievery. You have become an enabler of evil. That's just the way it is. But let's go ahead and dive into this. The United States has not seen evidence that the Taliban's newly formed government will be as inclusive as promised, no kidding. And it appears to be more of the same with many of the same actors, according to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. I think the whole international community was hopeful that they would be inclusive, as they kind of said they would be weeks and months. It's hard for me to read this with a straight face. Did people honestly think that this was just going to be rainbows and unicorns? That the Taliban is going to be, yeah, we'll keep our promises. Yeah, no, we're a totally radical extremist theocracy. Our ideology is so extreme that, we torture people to death just because they, didn't dress a certain way that we wanted them to. But no, we'll keep our promises. Fools. Austin told a small group of reporters traveling with him to the Middle East, but we've not seen evidence of that early on, and so it appears to be many of the same actors. Austin said the U.S. and the international community would continue to listen to what they were saying, but we're watching what they're doing, and right now it seems that it's more of the same. The Taliban's new government includes several leaders in the, I'm sorry if I mispronounced this, of the Haqqani network, including the group's de facto leader, Sirajuddin Haqqani, who was named as Interior Minister. The Haqqani network has been directly tied to violent attacks against American troops over the last 2 decades. We won't get a choice, a vote in that, but certainly these are people that I don't look favorably upon personally. But again, it's the Taliban government, Austin said, when asked about the inclusion of Haqqani network leaders in the government. Austin said the United States has, quote, put the Taliban on notice, that it expects them to not to allow al-Qaeda to regenerate. Something he said would demonstrate that they are serious about being a bona fide government and respected in the international community. They want sanctions lifted and that sort of business, so they have goals and aspirations, said Austin. If they demonstrate that they're going to harbor terrorism and in Afghanistan, all of that will be very, very difficult for them to achieve. I think the international community will hold them to task, quite frankly, Austin said. But again, our goal is to make sure that the terror cannot be exported from spaces in Afghanistan to the homeland, and we will remain focused. I'm going to go ahead and stop this there because I want to break some reality here. These people are, for all intents and purposes, these religious terrorists are savages. All right, is that PC to say? No, it's probably not. But you know what? Who cares? Because it's reality. These people are savage. They do not care about the international community and what they think of them. They've made it clear that they want to be looked at as terrorists. They don't really give a crap about being a legitimate, recognized as a legitimate government. Because at the end of the day, no matter what, it's them versus you. They don't care about what trade or what their invites to parties and stuff like that. They are religious ideologists, extremists. They're tasked to kill or subjugate. That is their main goals. That's it. And if you will not fall in line and obey, then they kill you. And they brutally kill you. They don't care. The fact that we have a government right now here in the United States that thinks that it needs to make room for these people is astonishing. These people only speak one language, and that's force. That's the only thing that they understand. If you give them an inch, they will take 5 miles. And that's something that we need to come to terms with. This is not the first world that we're dealing with. We're not dealing with a Western-like culture here. This is a culture, an extremist culture that popped up within a culture that does not allow for anything but its ideological positioning. That's it. Sometimes violence really is the only answer. We should have had that hanging over their head from the very beginning. The fact that we're talking about a Taliban government, to me, should shock the crap out of you. If this is not anything that should be allowed in any place that we had control over. The way that we were going to handle this was we were going to make them promise us, the Taliban, that not only would they not invite any other terrorists into that country, but that they would make deals with the Afghanistan government that was in place at the time. And if they violated that, then we were going to give them the Qasem Soleimani treatment. Okay? We were going to blow them. Now they're on notice. The Biden administration is putting people on notice now in the Middle East. Where was this earlier? And do you actually think that this is going to be something that the new Afghanistan government is going to care about, these Taliban? No. This is foolish. We are so comfortable in our first world experience that we think that these people will think like us, that these terrorists, these extremists are going to think like us, and they are not going to. They only understand one language, and it's kaboom. That's it. That might sound very unpolitically correct, but you know what? This country, the West in general, is focused on political correctness. They are not. That's just the God's honest truth, and we need to get with it. I'll see you in the next video. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or learned anything, please hit that like button and be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon so you're made aware when we upload new content. See you in the next video.